Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today's topic is going to be the natural resource of a human being. Now, this tends to be quite interesting thing. Originally, we were called Homo sapiens, meaning the wise man. I'm not 100% sure if we've lived up to that title, but it is something very unique to humankind. Wisdom. There's once a quote that I heard that man does not wield power, but inherits responsibility, something to that effect. I think it was a native saying. Uh, I really enjoy that. And the truth of the matter is that there must be something taking away from our pursuit of wisdom. If wisdom is kind of a thing that we can gain, and the more that we gain it, the more that we produce it, the more that we move by it or live by it, uh, there comes the question of why are we not wiser than we are? We've existed for a very long period of time, so why are we not kind of there? Why is everybody not wise? And this must mean that something is working against the cultivation of wisdom. There must be something working actually harder than wisdom itself or against wisdom so that we don't have that as an end conclusion. Now, the thing that I most readily see as something working against this flow of wisdom would be the process of speed. Now, there's a causal relationship between speed and I think the lack of wisdom. Now, the faster we move is the slower we get things done. And that might seem like a bit of a contradiction because it is, but if you think that to move fast we must block out a certain style of things happening, in this way, the faster that we get to um, the store is the quicker that we could buy our stuff, the faster that we could get home. However, time is always the same. It only changes in the mind of the individual, speeding it up by thinking that they're moving faster than they should. However, again, we see that this is in contrast to the health of the human being. In fact, if you look very closely at any time that there was rapid movement of the human race in a particular industry or a particular time, then we generally will have something that is destructive. We think of the Industrial Revolution, where cancer and illness was increased tremendously first previous to that time. Generally, humans thrive in a slower pace of life because that allows you to participate with life in a way that is realistic to what it is. If we are constantly thinking about where we're going, we can't be where we are, and in that way limit the experience of life. We can say that um, you can experience more when you're moving slower. You can see things more clearly. You have the time to make a second or third kind of attempt at something before going into the action of it, and in that way kind of solving a lot of the technical issues that might happen with the full completion of that action. Ultimately, we also see that monks, for example, are not sprinting all over the place, they're going slower. This is very interesting. Why are they not going fast if there is lots of wisdom in fast? And these are people that sit down to the cultivation of wisdom. We also see the master of something not necessarily moving faster, but getting a lot done with the time that they're using. There are times in history that we consider certain paints and pigments that have been able to last the test of thousands of years. However, we can't mix a paint that lasts 50 years now. Why is that? There must be something missing. That thing must have been cultivated in a slower pace of looking at life. Ultimately, we have the same thing with the forging of certain technique to do with forging samurai katanas in a way that the bonding of the metals cut together has not been able to be reproduced since the era of making those things. Again, this seems to be a slower wisdom of putting things together. Now, ultimately, we have when the mind does speed up faster than the, let's say, reality of things, and time as itself, we have a large amount of pressure that is created because life does not support the dissonance from reality. Um, if you jump, you will fall. There has to be a down phase. If we think that we will stay and we do something like jumping off a cliff, thinking that we're not going to hurt ourselves, you can see how that's not very conducive. Although that's a more extreme example, we still know that there's certain rules that we must follow, and when we break those rules, a stressor is gained. So for example, if you think a project should be done in 5 minutes, but it takes 30, the 25 minutes will be high pressure uh, because you thought it should have been done at a certain time. So we kind of can see that there's this constant taking away from the human being when we try to speed things up past this point. Generally, we make lots of mistakes when we move too fast. We can see this when somebody's trying to multitask and do many things at once. Although that is kind of a skill that we praise, we can't say that you can master anything by always multitasking, because it splits the energy and focus of the individual. As well as when you try to do too much at once, you fatigue yourself. This must mean that we're using the body in an ineffective way. At the end of the day, if you are burnt out, tired, and fatigued, we must say that we're using the body incorrectly, against its nature. If we were to use a car and the steering wheel broke, the mechanic would probably say, "What were you doing to that car?" And kind of give you some feedback on how not to do that. However, we don't take the same care with ourselves. If we're doing something and the result of it is being stressed, overburdened, feeling more resistant to change, always looking for safety versus experiencing life, always being timid or too shy to get things that are important to us, or always bowing to the pressures of society so that we fit in, then we can say that probably something is not going correctly if the end result is not a positive thing in the sense of self-fulfillment of the individual. Often we kind of associate monetary gain as fulfillment, and they work on two opposite levels. Thus, we have the business life and the home life. Home life actually thrives on things that are not conducive, let's say, to business, but are conducive to a life well lived. If you're able to take care of the things appropriately at home, then you will be a relaxed individual. And then when it comes to work, you can put that in its proper priority in place. Now, the challenge comes when we start to say that money is relaxation or money is peace of mind. No, peace of mind is peace of mind and relaxation is relaxation. And those are quietly cultivated in a slow-paced environment where we can have experience and we can have reflection on that experience, and then we can input knowledge, and then the cultivation of having those things working together appropriately equals wisdom. The ability to know that it's not worth it to do something based on the outcome that would happen or is most likely to happen. And knowing that value so well that we don't have to go through all the actions of doing it again. This is generally where wisdom lies. However, in the business world, it doesn't necessarily work out the same way. Although we might praise certain aspects of business, these are generally highlighting only a specific part of a human being, and then we're taking a trait away from the whole thing. So a plant is more than a plant, although we might just eat the grapes off the tree and think that's great. There's a lot more that goes into it. If we take a look at a book called Simplexity, you'll get a little bit more understanding of what I'm talking about when I bring up that point. Ideally, a thing is generally purposed by how we decide to use it. And if we listen to Erich Fromm, we can say that we've kind of made ourselves more robotic in the sense of always working with machinery and technology to improve things. We have lost sight of what improves a human. So therefore, we make ourselves function like a computer or a robot. The best part of a human being is their creativity. Who knows what constitutes for making somebody creative? But if we were to say that it is good to be determined, and we highlight the fact that all determined people are good people, and all lazy people are people that are not being determined, that are not action-oriented, then you can see how this skews reality. And again, there is a cost to skewing reality. You get people that maybe would be better at, let's say, social style things, but they're doing now logical stuff. This can make it very challenging for that person because they're using a skill maybe not as well cultivated as another one, and in that way maybe going against the purpose of that person. Maybe their calling is something completely different than what they're actually doing, and this kind of brings about another unique point, and that being one of selection for jobs or careers. Now, we often select ourselves for careers based on what we know about us. This is very interesting because we don't know that much about ourselves. In fact, we generally are just only paying attention to the things that we find important in other people and trying to make that us. Therefore, we could easily miss the marker of what is going to be most fulfilling. Back in the day, we had apprenticeships where you can try it out. You can see and cultivate the skills needed to take on this task. And if it wasn't worth the hard work, 3 or 4 years of just apprenticing, then you would give up and try something else. In that way, you will only select the thing that you truly want to do and are passionate about. And therefore, creating a kind of master-student relationship, you also get the support to go through those challenges. These things have kind of faded into history. However, we can see that the experiencing of these things are very powerful, far more than the action itself, which we might attribute to the end outcome, which again would be taking a part of reality out of a situation and not dealing with the whole thing. So that, I'm going to wrap up the video because I guess it's going a little bit longer than before. And I guess I'm super excited because I have not made a video in a little while, so I like to put in a whole bunch of points and things to think about. If any of these things really stand out to you and you want more information about them, feel free to ask and comment. Therefore, I'll highlight certain things. But outside of that, we are now on to the concept of the experiencing of self-care and how that plays out generally in the society, in family, in the individual. We can talk about the individual and talk about the family at the same time as we talk about the community, because we need one person to be able to kind of change or impact all three of those things. We're going to make that definitely an important part of our journey to the experiencing of self-care. All right, thank you very much. Have a great day.